today's guest, R.J. Chapman from Kingsland, Georgia, came in from Kingsland, Georgia today. Former 5th Fleet Commander, Master Chief during the Iraq War. That's a mouthful, right? After retiring from the Navy, he taught ROTC for 14 years at Camden County High School, is North Jacksonville's Toastmasters president. He's done a TEDx talk and has a podcast and a YouTube channel now with over 10,000 subscribers.
I'm Master Chief R.J. Chapman, and we're going to go down leadership lane.
Welcome to the Grit.org podcast. In these episodes, they speak to top achievers in athletics and business to understand the habits and mindset they apply in order to build more grit.
Well, hello. Welcome to today's episode of the Grit.org podcast. I'm Brian Harbin. This is my wife, Jen Harbin. And we've got R.J. Chapman with us here today. Super excited about having him. Today's episode is brought to you by escrow.com, a trusted third party that collects, holds, disperses funds according to buyer and seller instructions. Company we use every day for brokering domain names safely and securely. R.J., welcome to...
Who you're talking about. Where is this guy that's so amazing?
That's right. He's right here. But yes, we always like to start in the beginning, growing up, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. We always like to know early jobs, hobbies, anything that early on you felt like kind of helped, create that structure, principles for you, kind of that guiding light.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. If it's not on your bucket list, you need to get it on your bucket list. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. We were poor. Everybody else was rich, but we were poor. And I didn't really realize we were poor until I got about 12 years old, and my friends were walking around in different tennis shoes than I had. They had Converse All-Stars. My tennis shoes came in a plastic bag like a bread sack at the grocery store, and you could have them in any color you wanted as long as they were white. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get a job. Well, you could work at the casinos as a dishwasher at 14 years old. And I would go to work at 6 in the evening and work till 2 in the morning. And every 2 weeks I got a check for $102. And I changed it into ones and put it in, I ironed them and put them in my wallet.
Wow.
And I bought me some Converse All-Stars. And that didn't last long because then I went to Adidas Superstars. But it was great. I always had a job. I was a big track guy, football guy. I was a little school, so if you could, stand, you were probably an athlete. And but I loved growing up there. It was great. But I joined the Navy 6 days after I graduated high school, and I never got out for 32 years.
So, yeah, tell us about that decision to get into the military.
Right. It was kind of, my stepfather had been in the Navy. He did 4 years. He did his little hitch. And this is long before he married my mom. But he had these pictures of him in the Navy. And he'd be on a submarine. He'd go, here I am in Taiwan. I go, ooh, that looks cool. And he goes, here I am in Japan. Wow. And that's not your mother. I'm like, Dad. Well, this is before he met her, But I'm thinking, see the world. And I couldn't understand how something this big could just stay underwater for hundreds of days. And I built a model when I was seventh grade. I built a model of a submarine. And then Dad would always go, hey, you guys want to see the slides? Yeah. When we watched the slides, that was a big event. But I told a career counselor asked me in high school, I was the student body president, and they said, hey, what are you going to do when you graduate high school? I said, well, I was thinking about joining the Navy. Well, there's nothing Navy in Lake Tahoe, Nevada. And I was sitting in class the next day, and a van came by and said, go Navy. I'm like, how weird is that? And then over the speaker, the principal, R.J. Chapman, report to the principal's office. Well, I've heard that before. And but it was the recruiter. And he took me out to lunch. And I said, I said, I want to join the Navy. He goes, well, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? I go, I don't care about all that. I just want to be on a submarine. And he's real cool. He goes, well, I don't know, man. You're asking a lot. I'll see if I can pull a string. Of course, he had me. And he wanted to get me because once you get the student body president, guess what? 5 other schmoes sign up for the Navy. So I joined the Navy and got on submarines. It was great.
Yeah, so tell us about kind of starting off in the Navy. I mean, boot camp. I'm not sure what your family life was like growing up. Was it you're structured and all of a sudden you're in a super structured environment, or what was that transition like for you?
I don't really remember a whole lot about my life between like 0 and 18, but I do remember joining the Navy right away. And I remember that somebody told me this a long time ago. They said, listen, dude, you go in the Navy, you've got to do 3 things. I said, what's that? They said, keep your mouth shut, do your job, and look good every day, and you'll be okay. And so I went to boot camp. That's where you get brainwashed. Right? And I went to submarine school where you get properly brainwashed. And then I reported my first submarine. Well, your job when you first get there as an 18-year-old kid is to drive it. You're driving.
Really?
Yes, you drive the submarine. Now, there's an adult watching you.
Right.
But you drive it. You drive it for 6 hours. And then when you get done driving it, you go clean for an hour. Well, when you're a brand new guy, you are told to go scrub toilets. Mm-hmm. Now, the toilets on a submarine are stainless steel. So they give you a green scouring pad, and you go scrub that toilet. Well, that's what you want me to do? Gotcha. So I scrubbed this toilet. I got this stainless steel toilet, so shiny. You could shave in that toilet. And then I did so good, this guy comes over and goes, you know what, Chapman? We're going to give you urinals.
Upgraded.
Promotion.
I'm moving up. So I did urinals, made them look like mirrors, and then they said, dang, man, showers. Kept getting better and better.
Man.
It was a couple months later, they said, you know what, you're in charge of all the guys that do the urinals and the toilets and showers. And the candle was lit. Leadership 101.
That's right.
Start off being a good follower. Mm-hmm. That was cool.
What's like a few of your, I don't know, favorite things about living on? I can't even imagine what it's like to live, to be on a submarine, to live on a submarine.
Yeah.
Just, I can't. I mean,
it's pretty
what's
cool.
It like?
Well, you know, when you first go in there, you're thinking, if you guys went down right now, you would go, oh my God, how do they do it? It's so cramped. But it gets bigger the longer you're in there. It's so weird how it just gets bigger. Like one time my buddy goes, hey, let's go see Jimmy back in the engine room. I'm like, it's too far. Let's just see him at Chow, you know?
Too far along.
Well, they do paint them in a certain way to make you feel like it is bigger. I mean, there's a lot of psychological things, and you know, you don't even know anything about the size of it because you're so stinking busy. There's not any, you know, you're on for 6 hours, then you're off for 6 hours, but that off time, you're fixing things and you're trying to get your dolphins and all this, and then you sleep for 6 hours, and it begins again. And the only way you know it's dark or light or whatever is if you smell bacon and eggs, it must be breakfast. You know, or if the lights are red, that means it's dark outside.
Interesting.
Because you can't have white lights on, put the periscope up and see what's outside. Your eyes don't adjust.
Okay.
So all the lights are red.
Wow. And so for us civilians that don't, I mean, I know 5th Fleet Master Chief is, you know, you have to climb a lot of ranks to get to that point. What would you say were some things that kind of helped you or even make the decision that you wanted to continue to pursue that? Like, what does that take to get to that level?
Well, this is a pretty interesting story. Do we want to really kind of go into it a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. When you get to be a Master Chief, that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. That's a huge deal. It's great. And then you become a Command Master Chief, and that's the guy who's wearing this thing. We call it the cookie. And then there's these other levels. And to move up these other levels, you have to take on some really big responsibilities. Like, you have to be the Command Master Chief of an aircraft carrier. That's a big one. If you get that little check in the block, now you're kind of eligible to work for an admiral. So when you start working if you work for admirals, they put out, hey, I'm the admiral of, you know, Europe, and I'm looking for a Command Master Chief. So everybody puts in their packages, a little synopsis about themselves. So I was doing that. I got on this big ship. I was the Command Master Chief of this big ship, aircraft carrier type thing. And I'm putting in my package for these jobs. And these guys, and then they say, Master Chief, you got a phone call up in radio. It's the Admiral. I'm like, okay. I run up there, get the phone. Yeah, Master Chief, this is Admiral so-and-so. I just want to tell you your package was great, but I've selected da-da-da. So I was a bridesmaid about 3 or 4 times. And then I figured out, oh, that guy used to work for them when they were a captain. And so they're being safe. Nobody wants to take a risk. And I hadn't worked for anybody big or that made it big until then. So I was being put out to pasture. I had 28 years in the Navy, and I was the Command Master Chief of Little Creek, Virginia, which means that's it. And I got a phone call from the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. That's the #1 guy. Okay. And I only met him one time. I introduced him at some Navy ball or something. And his wife was sitting next to my wife, and I had his big bio, you know, it says, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's the greatest, blah, blah, blah. I took his bio and I crumpled it up, and I threw it in the trash can. And I looked at everybody in the room, I say, hey, walk a mile in his shoes. Because because there's a lot of coaches in the Navy that think they can do it better than the guy that's doing it. And then I said a couple other things, and I sat down, and his wife leaned over to my wife and said, "That's the best, introduction he ever got in his life." Well, I guess he never forgot it, because I'm in Little Creek being put out to pasture, and on my phone rings, Secretary, Master Chief, Mick Pond, line 1. Mick Pond? Okay, yeah, Mick Pond. He goes, "I want you to put in a package for the 5th Fleet, Master Chief." I'm like, "Jim, I've been putting in packages for like a year and a half. Nobody wants me." He goes, "Put in the package." I'm like, "Okay." So I put the package in. I don't think nothing of it. Master Chief, Admiral Keating, line 2, 2 weeks later. He's running the whole thing in Bahrain. He's in charge of everything from Egypt to Pakistan and the 22 countries in between, and the Persian Gulf. "Oh yeah, Master Chief, this is Admiral Keating. I just want to know if you would like to be the 5th Fleet Master Chief." So I mull it over for a billionth of a second.
Let me think.
Yes, I would. He goes, "Get on a plane." "I'm leaving Norfolk. I'm going to Bahrain."
Oh, wow.
Quickly. I got a couple days, but I went home. My wife, she has a wonderful job at Golden Corral. She's an accountant. She has friends. Yeah. That was about the end of my life.
Oh, wow.
But we went, and now remember now, everybody thinks, 5th Fleet Master Chief. It is a big deal, and I'm very proud of it. I mean, if you had numbers in the Navy, there's 400,000 people in the Navy. So the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy is number 1. And if you went to boot camp today, you're number 400,000. So I was I was number 17. So I was up there doing my thing a little bit. But truth be told, I was a cheerleader. That's what I did. I'd fly out to those ships and I say, "You guys, I love you. The Admiral's proud of you. Just do your job like you've been trained, and I'll get you home safely." And this is in the war. I mean, we're starting the war. March 20th, 2003, 5:31 a.m. Middle Eastern time. And I know it. They don't know it, but I know it. And I just want them to do what they're supposed to do and not do anything more, and everything will be okay. It's a great job. I loved it.
It's great. And the role of that, like you say, being the cheerleader, of course, why is that so important? I mean, talk about that, like that job.
That's good.
I mean.
That's good. I'll tell you what it is. When you're out there on an aircraft carrier or any ship, let's just take a cruiser. There's 410 of them. They're all alone. I mean, they have each other, and that's it. Rarely does somebody fly out to one of the little ships, anybody, and tell them they love them and tell them that America's proud of them and what they're doing. Rarely does that happen. Now, we get Ben Affleck, and we got, who we get? John Elway, Robin Williams. These guys want to come out and say hi to the troops and all that, but they're not going to the USS Deo. They're going to the Enterprise. They're seeing big groups. So I take John Andretti quite a few places, but I went to all of them because they all fell under us. And I just would go out there and it's just somebody different. And the other cool thing about it was our bail was really backlogged because when the war took off, right, all the parents are writing their kids and we were just crushed with mail.
Like all of a sudden.
All of a sudden. And we have this huge warehouse in Bahrain with all the mail. And there's these big bins, right? It says like, Milius, USS Way City, and the huge things full of mail, right? Well, I was going out to these ships. So I go over their big bin of mail, I grab a bunch of their mail, I throw it in my bag, and I fly out there, and then I get on the bridge. I go, "This is 5th Fleet Master Chief Chapman. I need to see Seaman Jones, Lieutenant Smith, da-da-da." They all come to the bridge, I give them their mail.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was awesome. It was great. That was a fun thing. I did that every time.
Yeah, they think they're in trouble, and then they get great news, right? So, yeah, can you give us a snapshot of what it's like being, literally in the trenches, submarine during the war in Iraq? I mean, what was that experience like?
Well, I wasn't on a submarine during the war in Iraq. I was the 5th Fleet Master Chief. I had an office, I had a driver, I had access to planes and helicopters. My admiral, he was really cool. I'll tell you something he told me. The first time I met him, our initial meeting lasted 20 seconds. He called me R.J. That's the part that killed me. I'd never been called R.J. in my life. He said, "Sit down, R.J." I'm like, holy crap. But it was just me and him. I'm like, who's R.J.? I thought my name was Master Chief. He goes, "R.J., I want you to do 3 things. I want you to do whatever you want to do. I want you to never take no for an answer. And I'd like you to get on with it. And right then and there, it was all crystallized what I'm supposed to do. I have unlimited power to do good. And I got to tell you a quick story about doing good. You want to hear the best thing I ever did? I swear I think it's the best thing. Well, it's one of them. There's these 2 oil platforms in the Persian Gulf. They're called A-Bot and K-Bot. They're huge oil platforms. They're Iraq's oil platforms. So that's how they get their oil out to those big tankers. They go out to these platforms, pump at the tanker, blah, blah, blah. Well, we had to take those over because they were going to do bad things to them and ruin the Persian Gulf for thousands of years. So we took them over, and we put our guys out there to protect them. So they were in these Connex boxes, those big metal boxes down there. And of course, we made them nice. I mean, they had racks and air conditioning, but there is still, it's 125. It's miserable. The meals come from a ship. They can't cook. It's rough. They're out there for a couple months at a time. Well, I flew out there with the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy because he says, I want to go see A-Bot and K-Bot and see how the kids are doing. I said, I do too. So we flew out there. We got them all. There's like 20 kids. Hey, is there anything we can do for you guys? And this one little kid, he comes up and he goes, Master Chief, do you think we could get internet? I'm like, I think we can. He goes, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get phones and internet, and I'm going to give you my card. Little tiny guy, Seaman Recruit Smith or something. I said, and when you get phones and internet, send me an email. And
nice.
so, I go back to the office, and my admiral goes, no, what was it? Some commander comes down to my office. I go, what do you need, sir? He's an officer. He goes, well, the admiral told me to come see you. I go, okay, why? He goes, well, I'm a reservist. I'm going to be here for a couple of weeks, and he told me you'd give me something to do. I go, well, yeah, I'll give you something to do. Get internet and phones on A-Bot and K-Bot. And he's like, okay. So he disappears for a couple of weeks. He comes back, he goes, we can do it. Oh yeah? I said, yeah. He goes, we need a little money. I said, how much? He goes, about $300,000. I said, okay, let's go see the guy with the money. So we go see the captain. And the captain goes, what do you need, Master Chief? I said, I need $300,000 so we can get this communication thing set up for those kids on those oil wells. He goes, okay. Boom, boom, boom. Like a week later, I get an email. Master Chief, it works.
Oh,
Call.
best email ever.
Oh man. And they can call home. They call their mom. Because it's big to call your mom.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so, 34 years is a long time. Walk us through kind of that decision to, I guess, retire from the military and then deciding what to do next.
Well, that's a really good question, too. By the way, 32. I didn't do
Oh, 32, okay.
And you can't do over 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they kick you out. Now, the only reason I got to do 32 is because I did 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I hit about the 29-year mark, 29 and a half, and the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy said, you can do more. We'll give you 2 years anywhere you want to go in the world.
Wow.
And I said, okay, because I'm going to die in Kings Bay because my wife is a twin, and she's from Kings Bay. So I said, okay, I'll go to Kings Bay. And they said, okay, well, you can be the command master chief of the whole base. I'm like, okay. Because by now I'm like, come on, give me a job, but that's okay. But it was good for me because I was pretty worn out by the 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan and all the countries because I was constantly traveling, quite a bit of travel. But the decision was real funny. I did 4 years in the Navy, and I was walking around with these yellow stickies on my uniform. It said 99. I had 99 days to go. I'm showing the whole crew, that's right, I'm going to get out of your canoe club. And the next day, 98, Oh, wow. And, oh, God. So I was down to like 66, and the captain comes up to me and says, come here, Chapman. What'll it take to keep you in? Well, my girlfriend at the time, who was in the Navy, had orders to Naples, Italy. So I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what, sir, you give me orders to Naples, Italy, $6,000, and I'll consider it. So he goes up to radio, boop, 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 sends off a message to wherever, comes back, boop, 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 give him $6,000 in Naples, Italy. I'm like, so he gets a hold of me, he goes, well, good, here's the money, here's the orders, what you gonna do? I go, I guess I'll re-enlist. He goes, okay, well, let's go down to crew's mess. So we go down to where everybody eats, and the whole crew is there, and I gotta go, I support and defend the country. And they're all like, sell out, you're a sellout.
Did somebody come up and take your
No,
yellow
the next day they'll have yellow stickies on it that said 6 more years.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
But after that, now you're in for 10. I'm almost going to be a chief, so I'm doing good. You only got to do 10 more, and you got medical benefits for the rest of your life. Yeah, you get a retirement check, and but I'm telling you, it's the medical benefits. So I did the 32. I retired in 2007. This is a good story, too. Can I tell this story?
Absolutely.
Okay. There's a captain, and he was running the ROTC unit at the high school. Well, I never heard of NJROTC. It's a class for kids in school to play Navy. And he comes up and he needed a haircut. He was a captain with a bunch of hair, and he comes in my office, and I have a really nice office. It has all the ball caps of every ship I ever visited.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's 86 ball caps on these little ledges all around my office, and the captain, this captain, he's old. He's an old captain. What's this guy's doing in the Navy? And he goes, "Hey, Master Chief, how's it going?" I go, "Good, sir. What's with the haircut?" He looks at me and goes, "Well, what's with the Taj Mahal?"
Oh, nice.
It turns out he's running the program at the high school, and he needed some barracks for the kids for a leadership class. So yeah, we'll give you all the barracks. And then he says, "You should come up to the high school and do an inspection on these kids." I'm like, "Okay." I go up there, and here they're little kids, sophomores, juniors. They look Navy. They look like they're in the Navy. So I'm thinking they are in the Navy. And I'm giving them the full Monty, the inspection, the whole bit, And I leave, I'm going, wow, that is pretty cool. A month later, they call me up, the school calls me up. "Hey, the Master Chief, the other Master Chief, he's got to have surgery, and he won't be back for 100 days. And I'd already retired. And they said, "Do you want a substitute?" Do I want a substitute? Yes, I do. And I did it. And then he had some complications and couldn't come back. So the next year they hired me, and I had my little classroom for 14 years.
Wow.
It was great.
Tell us about that. I mean, the impact that you've had on so many young people, the impact they had on you.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah, well, I don't have any kids. And so
you have these kids.
I have 975 children now.
That's right.
That have come through those doors in the last 14 years. And it's amazing how we still keep in touch. I got a phone call last night from Korea. I got a kid over there in the Army, and he's telling me how good he did. And
wow.
I did a speech at his graduation in Norfolk for the Army guys. And they're always calling. Here's the other thing, too. They're always calling me up. "Can you go over that Roth IRA again?" I'm like, "Dude, why didn't you pay attention when we were in class?" So I'm going, because they really like the investments. They like to understand money. I mean, the ones that catch it.
Good.
Because they don't teach that. I teach it.
No, they don't teach it in school. And if your parents don't teach you, everyone taught me. Yes.
So ROTC is a program to teach citizenship. It has nothing to do with getting a kid in the military. It's only citizenship. Because half of them, to be honest, can't join the military. They've got some colorblind, or they've got a little problem. They can't get in. So it's not a real bang for the buck if you're looking to put people in. But they give you so much stuff to teach them. They give you these books, these CDs, and all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this, Well, I tried to do it with their big fancy book, and then it didn't work out for me. And then this one guy says, Master Chief, you can't teach all the stuff we give you. It's impossible to teach them all this curriculum. So teach them whatever you want to teach them. And so then we start talking about life. Matter of fact, I had this thing called the Life Project. It was 8 weeks long. They had to go to college, figure that out, get a job, show me the money, show me the distance, show me their car, show me the mileage, show me their wife, show me their children. And then when they plugged all their information into the death calculator, and depending on their habits, which they rolled the dice for smoking, rolled the dice for drinking, rolled the dice for body fat, it gave them their tombstone and their name and their date.
Wow.
I'm writing a curriculum of this whole thing right now.
Every high school needs to have this class.
I agree.
Sorry, that's
right.
I mean,
that's great.
Yes.
That took a whole semester, by the way.
I bet. And I'm sure that stuck with every single one of them.
Oh, it did.
I like that they had things that they got to choose. Like,
right.
I choose this, this, and this. And then like in life, there are so many things that are uncontrollable that get thrown at you.
Right.
And like the dice. And some of the dice you do pick.
Well,
but some of the things you don't.
Exactly.
Life happens, health happens.
It was be odd or even. Odd. Oh, you drink.
Okay.
Oh, 4 beers a day. Oh, what's that going to cost you?
Yes.
We're making beers $2.50, so you're spending $10 a day on beers. Well, okay, so what is that a month? $300? Put it in your bills. I want that in your bills.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Well, and you do it for the listeners out there. You do a great TED Talk talking about your experience teaching and the way that you did it. I love how you made it fun. You know, you incorporated Bob Ross, which is great, and
Bob Ross' book.
I love it.
you know, reflecting back on that experience. What would be some things that you learned? I'm sure you probably learned more from those kids than you felt like you taught them. In terms of just the.
Oh gosh, and they're doing. I'm sure the ones that are kind of having a rough time, I don't hear from because they're probably a little don't want me to know.
Yes.
But the ones that are really, really doing well, are doing good. The Bob Ross thing was a joy. I'm gonna tell you, I think I said it in the TED Talk. By the way, TED is tough. If you're thinking about doing TED, good on you.
Yeah, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, it's a serious issue. Anybody can do a TED Talk. But you have to have a message. You have to have something somebody wants to listen to. And you know what? That's not that hard because we all have something that somebody wants to listen to. But they give you coaches. I had 2 coaches. I had a Broadway musical coach and I had another speech kind of guy coach. And even though my stuff was pretty, a lot of it's done by Zoom and all that in the beginning because TED's big. And then you practice a little bit, and I remember one night I'm doing it and trying, and I formulating it, it's sort of coming together, but I've got a little bit of doubt. I'm not big on doubt, but it's creeping in because I'm realizing how big TED is. See, I didn't know anything about TED. That's a whole nother tale. But anyway, so I'm on this Zoom, and there's this lady, Maria Martinez. Maria, if you're listening, and she knows this, she's nodding, and I'm doing it, and okay. And she goes, RJ, she stops the whole thing. She goes, RJ, you're gonna be great. And I was like, I'm going to be okay.
She's your cheerleader, right? Yeah.
Maria, punch that down.
She just had me down in Tampa to talk to the Greenway Medical Facility for Veterans Day, and I went to like 20 countries. Oh, I had a good time doing that. She's great.
And so, after 14 years in retiring, is that when you got into Toastmasters and kind of made the decision to do TED Talk, or how did you kind of figure out what to do after that?
Retired, and this is another fluke. I was in my classroom 10 years ago, and this lady came in with a little video camera, and we had some new technology like a smart board, and they had computers. Well, the school just got it, and nobody really knew how to do anything with it. And I, of all people, know nothing on how to do it. But guess who knows how to do it? The freaking kids know how to do it. And so I said, okay, I'm going home from my class reunion. Let's put together my itinerary. You do golf courses. You do reservations. You do the airline pilot. You do the car. Because I only had 9 kids in that class.
Okay.
So they all had jobs, and they all worked on it real time on that screen. And I would tell them what I wanted to eat at that restaurant at 8 o'clock on Tuesday in a month. I mean, this was 48 pages. It came out to be 48 pages. And she's videotaping this, right? And she's a video person at the high school. Okay. So anyway, she gives the little tape to the principal, and he takes it to Atlanta, and he shows it to every principal in the state. See this guy? This is how we're supposed to be using this new technology. And I'm like this big hero. I don't know nothing. But she turns out to be a TED Talk curator 10 years later. So she's looking for people. And she comes up to me and she goes, because I've been retired a couple of months, she goes, you're going to do a TED Talk. I go, what's a TED Talk? She goes, you're going to do it. I'm like, okay. So she makes me sign a couple things. And she goes, okay, you're going to get a phone call tomorrow night from the main guy asking you if you want to do a TED Talk. I'm like, okay, sure. Oh, hello? Yeah. Would you like to do a TED Talk? Sure. I'm in. Now, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. But anybody could do one. And so he did it, and I did the TED Talk. And then one of the guys at TED, one of the coaches, turns out to be a guy that I taught in the Navy in 1989.
Get out.
And he had a little evaluation that I wrote on him back in 1989. He kept it the whole time because I used to teach people how to teach. Okay. And he was one of my first students. And so we're at the TED thing, we kind of connected the dot at Toastmasters a few months later because we knew, that's how it is in the Navy. You look at each other, Way City? No. Enterprise, yeah. And anyway, we get it down, and he shows me, because he's a Toastmaster, so he keeps every comment. And he kept that thing that I wrote on him about how he was teaching. And it said on there, because it's a 4-week course, this is the 3rd week, I said, if I had my way, you would graduate today, R.J. Chapman. And he showed it to me.
Nice, he kept it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. How did you get into Toastmasters? How did that?
I did, like when I did the TED Talk, there's this other guy that did this thing called Titanium Brain. It was a pretty good TED Talk.
Okay.
And he says, hey, let's go check out this Toastmaster thing. I'm like, okay. So we go down to Jacksonville. It's about 50 miles away. We go down to Jacksonville. I am hooked. Man, when I saw you could get a ribbon, it's like a 3rd grader.
That's right.
I'm in.
I'm all in.
And and I like competition. I'm not going to say I don't. I like it.
Competition's good.
Yep. And they got ribbons for the best talk. And then if you did the best little extemporaneous speaking thing at the end, you got a ribbon. And I'm like, and it was all adults, you know. And it's good, clean fun. And it's challenging if you want to do it right. Like when I first started doing it, the first thing you do is an icebreaker. So that's just where you talk about yourself. So piece of cake. And the second one was, body language and leadership or something. Well, I can write the book on body language and leadership. So I didn't pay any attention to the tutorials that Toastmasters wants you to follow, because there's a way to do this.
Okay.
I just, you want 7 minutes on that? Okay. I did it. I did good. And then the next one I did it again. I just said, what do they want? Okay, did it. And then Will, the guy that I talked about earlier that I wrote the evaluation on, he's the president at that time. And he comes up to me and goes, you're not paying any attention to the tutorials, are you? I'm like,
You do.
I go, why would I look at those things? I write the book on these things. He goes, you better start reading the tutorials, because we can tell. He goes, I can tell. He goes, the rest of them can't tell much, but I know what you're doing. And ever since then, I follow, and I'm getting much, much better at what I do. Public speaking, my YouTube show, what is it called? The R.J. Chapman Show. And just getting much better at it, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that was very daunting for me, there's an and an counter. There's a grammarian, everybody's got a role, and so it's very well organized and great organization. I'm curious for you, like, where does that passion come from in terms of, like, at this point, like, this is, a lot of new hobbies, interests, speaking, TED Talks, Toastmasters, YouTube channel.
Right.
Like, where does that passion come from? Where do you, like, what's the message you feel like you really want to get out there for people?
Oh gosh, I'm glad you said that. I'm not really 100% sure really what's going on right now. I'm not kidding you. It's truly amazing the way all this works. And I'll tell you one real quick story. I do the YouTube channel. It's called my R.J. Chapman Show. But I started that because my church needs a new sign. Our church has a sign, that you put the letters up there and you don't have enough T's, so you can't write, town home or whatever. And it's an old sign. Mm-hmm. And it's a little church. There's only like 30, 40 people. And my wife and her twin sister, they put the phrase up, and they're out there in the cold and doing that. I'm like, So I say, you know what, we're going to get a new sign. I want a new sign for the church. And so I had a golf tournament. I ran a golf tournament because I used to run those for the ROTC all the time, and I was retired. So I ran a little golf tournament, made $15,000.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And the sign is $50,000. So I was going to sell a couple of my cars. I'm still trying to sell them, by the way, if anybody wants a Tornado. But a lot of people were interested in my cars, but they wanted to steal them, so I'm not giving them away. So I said, you know what, I'm going to do this YouTube thing. I think this would be fun. Because somebody saw my TED Talk and said, you need to do a YouTube channel.
They were right.
They were right. And I said, okay, so we started it. And so I've been at it for about a year and a couple of months. And if I would have taken all the money that I've spent on this, $35,000, I could have got the sign by now. But it's a hobby. It's a real good, fun hobby. And my interviews are great, just like your interviews are great. Everybody has a story to tell. It used to be called My Famous Friends. Well, because everybody, everywhere to me is famous. You put anybody in this chair and they got something cool to say. Mm-hmm. So it's a really great thing.
I love
We're all in
that.
this together.
That was my TED Talk.
That was your TED Talk.
Oh my gosh, very good.
And you met your wife at Toastmasters, is that right?
No,
I'm sorry.
Ely and Bob.
Oh, Ely and Bob met at Toastmasters. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
my wife.
Where did you meet?
You know,
your wife?
my wife was my secretary.
Get out.
I'm telling the truth.
Oh my
But she was
gosh.
also the secretary to 5 other people when I was stationed in Kings Bay in 1988, and it was so funny. You know, she was the secretary, and
With Jim and Pam in the office, like you started professional.
Everything was cool. No, everything was good.
A little flirty here and there.
No,
Okay.
none
No,
of
not
that.
flirty. No,
But then
not flirty.
I don't know what happened. One day she said something, and in the Navy,
Oh, that's right. There's none of that.
You know, so if somebody says, like if a girl says something to me, I'm a first class petty officer.
right.
She's a civilian.
Right.
You know, she said something. I don't know what it was, but it was different. And so I called her into my office. I said, I need to have a talk with you. You know, you said this.
How romantic.
I said this. And I kind of took it that way, and I'm sure you didn't mean it. I'm sure. Oh boy, we had that hook.
Oh, wow.
And so then, I went out with her a bunch, and then I dump her, and then we go out a bunch, and I dump her again, because I came to Kings Bay with no baggage, and I was leaving with no baggage. Mm-hmm. And then one time I dumped her, and she didn't come back.
Ooh.
So I sent her flowers. I sent her 2 dozen roses. And I said, I'm sorry. She didn't call. And when I saw her at work, it was like I was like a ghost.
Oh, you still work together?
Yeah, she just saw through me. I wasn't even there anymore. and I'm like, And so I remember, I'm at home. This is so cheesy. I'm so ashamed of myself. I call her up. Will you marry me? And then my boss at work, he goes, "You did not ask her to marry you. I'm throwing the flag on this." Yeah, and so because everybody knows we're in this volatile relationship for a year, and he calls everybody to the stage, everybody to the amphitheater, the whole command. There's like 1,000 of them. I gotta get on my knee on the stage and reenact.
That is fantastic. You're not getting away with a phone call proposal.
No.
Oh, no.
Because they didn't believe it. Nobody believed it.
Wow. Flag on the play.
That's great.
Get everybody in here.
34 years of pain later. I mean, the best years of my life.
Right?
And one of the things that I like that you do, you talk about laboratory for leadership. Like one of the things you do on your YouTube shorts is you have like a different leadership tip. And really just kind of imparting leadership wisdom. I guess for you, what are some of the, key components for being a leader in terms of just mindset, habit, skills, like anything that, top 3 of your favorite, would you say?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm going to come clean. I do it with energy and enthusiasm. And I think that's one of the number one things you've got to have as a leader. Mm-hmm. The other thing I really like about really great, and I've worked for some great leaders. I mean, I worked for some 3- and 4-star admirals, and these guys are very, very cool. I mean, there's only 9 4-star admirals in the Navy. So when you get to that spot, it's my job to read your mind and get it done before you have to ask me to do it. Mm-hmm. You better not have to ask me to do it. So good leaders can read minds real well. They got to know what's going on. And I had a kid on my show. We're putting it out pretty soon. Mr. Jonathan over there is putting it out. We had a young sailor who used to be in my class, but now he's a sailor. He's a submariner. And we put him on the show to ask him about leadership. And he brought up a cool thing. He goes, well, being a leader, because he's really young, he was being a leader, different people react different ways. So you got to treat them a little bit different for what works best for them. I'm like, dude, this is gold. So I think we're going to do that a little bit more. I love the TikTok things or the shorts that we do, and they look beautiful because people with talent make them look beautiful.
Good job, Jonathan.
He's great. And then, he'll give me a couple words. He'll go, whatever, be passionate. And I'll just start talking. As a leader, you need to be passionate about your job. And it's so easy. It's so much fun. But my top 2, just for me personally, energy and enthusiasm. Next, I would say, listen. I mean, I've talked constantly here for 34 minutes, but great leaders listen and say, because there's a difference between listening and hearing. Mm-hmm. You got 2 ears, they work, okay, you can hear. But listening, that's a trick. That's and you can do it. You can get it. And you can be enthusiastic and have energy. I think 95% people don't have that energy and enthusiasm. You know, when I hear somebody say, I gotta go to work, I look at them and say, no, you get to go to work, you know? There's a lot of people that would do what you're doing or be happy to be doing it. So it's just how you speak. I have this thing, you don't know this, I have this thing called The Secret. You know what The Secret is?
What's that?
Okay, it's Christmas Eve. I'm in New York City. I haven't bought one present, right? I'm going to Macy's. I drive up to Macy's. Is the parking lot full? Of course it's full. But guess what? There's a spot in the front every time for me. Because I go into the world with the right attitude. I don't go into the world with the wrong attitude. I go in with the good attitude. I put my shopping cart back in the store when I'm done. Those kinds of things. And I'm rewarded with a parking spot.
How you do the little things is how you do all things, right?
That's very good and very true. And you know what else I'll say about leaders? I think I'll say energy and enthusiasm, listening, hearing. I would say you got to be genuine. You can't be somebody different at work than who you really are off camera. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, you come into my house, you can go into every room. I'll let you see every room except maybe one, because everybody has a closet. But you need to be the same person there as you are here. And that really, so you don't have to be two different people. Mm-hmm. And then you can really be a great leader, a fair leader.
Love that.
That's good.
No, amazing.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm just trying to like take it all in.
Good.
I mean, and how when you I'm making noise on the thing.
Oh, you're good.
You brought up something earlier that made me think of I think you were talking about the Kraken, or I can't remember what we were talking about.
It might have been signing the bomb.
I think maybe signing the bomb.
Pound cake saved my life.
It was. Yes, and you were talking about they gave you all this power to do good.
Right.
And it made me think so much of young people today. And specifically boys, like that reminds me of something Jordan Peterson says a lot of. You want to be an absolute monster and then learn how to control it. Now you obviously have led and influenced so many young men and women, and you know they should learn that too in a different way as well.
Right.
How, you know, why is that so important? Like that just made me think of that. Of just kids today that you know, lots of things I think that as we're like that one kid that you were talking about, he recognized people are different. We're not all robots. So someone might not react the same way to this type of leadership or that, you know, you just might need to find something in them that you can reach them and then they'll follow you to the end of the earth. Yeah,
you know? I'm so glad you said that, follow you to the end of the earth. I had a kid, she was a junior, and she came here from Spain, from the ROTC program in Spain. And her mom, dad got orders here, so now she's in my class in Camden County.
So she's in high school.
Right,
okay.
She's in high school, and she had her ROTC family, but now we're in a different family, and I'm running a pretty tight ship, and she was good, but she came home the first day of school and went up to her dad. He's a commander. She goes, I'm not taking it. I can't deal with this guy. And her dad, he's the commander. He goes, now listen, Madison, you gotta get, you know, you signed up for it, so you're gonna take it, you know. So she comes back the next day, she goes, Dad, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it with this guy. Because I was so different than whoever she had. I mean, yes. And he goes, well, I'll give you a deal. I'll let you quit after the first semester. And she's like, okay. So, well, you know, we move on. You know, put her in charge of this. I see she's smart. Let her do that. When she graduated, her dad came up to me and he goes, because she stayed the whole time. And her dad goes, you know what, Madison walked through fire for you. And I had her on my show. She's on my YouTube show.
Wait, is that the most recent episode? No,
that's a young blonde girl.
Yes, okay.
Who, by the way, as a GS-10 at 24 years old on the base as a PAO.
Wow.
Super proud of her.
That's pretty remarkable.
I'm curious, in working with young people, I know you teach them so many life skills, which is incredible. For you as a mentality, just to try and teach them as many things as you possibly can and hope something sticks, not knowing what will? Or do you feel like going into it, it's like, hey, if there's one thing these kids take from my class and learning from me, what is it that you feel like you want them to take away from their time with you?
Well, this is pretty interesting. I have this book, and you probably saw it in the TED Talk. It's called Letters from Bob. And it's letters that they wrote me. And I didn't read any of them until I retired. So that we had this book for 10 years. And when I go back and I look at the letter that they wrote, I know what it is that I taught them that day and why they wrote that letter. And so,
even if you read it years later, it brings you right back to it.
They'll say, you know, that thing you did about blah, blah, blah. And I remember when we watched the Bob Ross and did that. You know,
the Bob Ross.
They know the specific little thing. And so then I can go, you know, sometimes you just don't know what's going on in their life. And because we had this thing as a teacher, you know, if the kid's not doing very well, you know, call the family, see if they can get them on track. And I'm a brand new teacher. I've been there like a year, you know. So little Johnny, he's got like a 68, so I'm going to be the teacher. Call him up. Well, in the background, you know, the TV's blaring, the dog's barking, the baby's crying. And Mom go, what's he doing now? And I'm like, I'm never calling home again. They got enough going on, you know. And so those things will come out in a letter sometimes. And then I remember when I called that mom about that incident. So it's very, very good. It's very good. And you never know what angle. You never know. They're going to call you from Korea and ask you about a Roth IRA.
Right.
Or they're going
Yes.
they'll come up to me in my house. Hey, Master Chief, I'm going to go buy a car. I go, oh, okay. How much is the car? I don't know, but it's only $300 a month. Dude, you got to know what it costs. we got
You need to know.
We got to go over this interest rate and stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm very privileged because I'm from a small town. And wherever I go, I'm a rock star. You know, somebody knows me. I got a free Bahama Mama yesterday. This girl goes, oh, I know you, Master Chief. I subscribe to your channel.
Oh my gosh,
And you waited too long, so here you go.
Nice.
Oh, that was nice.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
I think too, like, so many of these kids could very well have a mom and a dad that explain all this stuff to them, and at the same time, you're not their mom or dad.
Right.
So some kids might not have anyone in their life that can explain any of these life skills to them that you can reach.
Right.
Some have both, but they're, you know, maybe in that teenage year, they just don't want to hear it from them. They hear the same stuff from you as someone that they respect or they enjoy, and that really hits them. You can't get too many good influences around you telling you too many good things over and over in different ways.
But you're absolutely right. You know, they're tired of mom and dad. But somebody else tells them the same thing. Oh, there might be something to it now. You know.
And they trust you.
Yeah, they trust you, and I was real good with them. I was real good. I was fair with them. I was fair. I was pretty hard on them, but you know, they turned out pretty dang good.
Yeah.
It was good.
That's amazing. The and kind of last thing I wanted to ask you, and you feel free to ask something else too, but I wanted to open it up because I know you have a lot of stories that you know like to talk about or want to talk about. Anything specific that you wanted to talk about or mention? I know you know, anything coming up, any speeches that are your favorite, or anything along those lines that. Right.
Well, you know, let me just go over January a little bit. Just now, I am retired, which means, you know, I don't know what it means, but here's what it means for me. There's yesterday I was doing a Zoom thing with the classroom in Berkeley, talking to these kids about the Navy. And then the day before that, I was at another club for Toastmasters practicing this speech I'm going to give for a contest. I'm here today with you guys. And then tomorrow I'm working on this slideshow with 20 slides that you have to talk about for 20 seconds per slide called Sea Stories. So it's bang, bang, bang. But I really like cramming it in there, and I like really doing these things because it keeps my mind sharp and go, go, go. Too many of my friends retired and they thought that was that. You know, they did their 20 years in the Navy and they're 45 now, and I'm not going to do nothing for the rest of my life. Well, you know what? Here's the deal. You got to give back. You, me, everybody. You got to die empty. Tell your story. Everybody's got a story. You know, the other day I gave a talk down in Tampa, and I had a Purple Heart with me because my friend found this Purple Heart in an attic, and it had never been opened, and it had the tube in it with the piece of paper to the guy who had the Purple Heart.
Wow.
But nobody had ever seen it, and nobody even knew who it belonged to anymore, and so that shouldn't happen. Tell your story, die empty, and that's what I'm trying to do a little bit. Because stories, everybody's got them. Y'all got them. It's easy to do.
That's your why, right? I love that, and like you said, just keeping your mind sharp. I mean, you know, all the speeches you put together and thinking about all the different scenarios and.
Yes. It's really
incredible craft.
Something, and that's the thing too. If I get an opportunity to do something different, I'm doing it. Like the other day, somebody called me up. I was on the road, and they said, "Hey, you want to do this little podcast?" Nick Patterson and they called me up, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I was just driving down the road answering their questions, and I had a good time with it. And I was really looking forward to this because Ely and Bob, because I love them. And then I saw a couple of these, and I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty pro." So if you're going to do this, you have to get out there. You have to, if you're going to do it, and take every opportunity, because you will get better. I'm getting better.
Yeah, in the podcast too. I mean, I just love just walking away, even after an hour, feeling like you really know someone so much better.
Right.
You know, I've always been the type of person is like I'd way rather have a deep conversation with like one person versus 10 different conversations, right?
Totally agree. Yeah, no, this has been fun. Do we have time for what we got?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, go for it.
I know. So I have so many questions.
Okay, go.
So but I want to hear the pound cake story too. So we're going to get back to that. I definitely, okay. But I'm really wondering this. There's so many people that are young people that, especially today,
yes,
with all the stuff that we have, the post-COVID, the world we live in, social media, all that we're all disconnected in so many ways.
Yes.
Where, all the things that they're going through.
Right.
What advice would you give them? Like, I love all of your leadership tips.
Yes.
And it's a chunk, it's a word that you can take with you.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, even the one that you talked about, you can't have a bad day.
Right.
You gotta be positive.
Right.
For so many people, that resonates and they're like, yes, and they take it and they go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for a lot of kids, they don't know how, it might seem overwhelming that they want to be that type of person, or they want to build that habit, they want to be a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
So for all those kids that don't have the blessing of being in your ROTC class or haven't seen your channel for some reason, I don't know why they wouldn't have, they should, everyone should see it.
I agree.
Is there one tip that they could just, to start their lives to build a bit more mental toughness?
Yeah.
To build, what's one thing they could do?
I don't know if it's really a tip, but I think they need to remember, and this is important for them, they're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Now, you're going to have to put a little bit of effort. Yeah, there's a thing called the effort highway. There's not too many cars on it. You get your car on that effort highway, you can drive as fast as you want. And who knows what it's at the end. But I remember walking into my classroom one time thinking, they're going to be all right. And then I realized that maybe some are going to have it a little bit harder than others. And so I really try to instill in them 3 things. Just do your job, do it the best you can, and always look nice. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I love that too, because I think a lot of times as adults look at kids and be like, oh, what do they have to be stressed or worried about? They don't have all these responsibilities. But, young people do carry around a lot of stress and anxiety, not even, that other people put on them and that they carry around. And I think that's such an important message for them to hear is that, look, everything's, and I think, I always tell my oldest son who's 17, I said the biggest difference between me and you is perspective, right? I think as adults and parents is we can give them perspective of like, hey, they broke up with a significant other, it's the end of the world, but we have perspective of like, okay, we've been through it before, you'll get through it. And I think that's an incredible message for young people to hear.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I just think they need people in their lives, though. They need role models. They need somebody to look up to. The other day at Toastmasters, we had a young guy. He's probably about 25 years old. He gave a little icebreaker, and one lady brought her cousin, and he was 17. And he was sitting, there's adults, we're all 40, 50 years old doing these speeches, and that young guy did his icebreaker, and he was talking to everybody, but he was looking at the little 17-year-old guy. And I could see the connection forming. And then the little 17-year-old guy got up there and did a little table talk, which is crazy. And he looked at the guy that gave him the message most of the time. So there was that little bond thing. They've got to find some people that are good people. They're going to help them along their journey, gravitate to those people, learn a few things, get something in their system that they want to take from that person. I mean, when you look back on me as a young kid, my football coach died, and he had a obituary, and I read his obituary, and you know who it was? It was me. His life was me. And I didn't realize at the time how much of his life I put into mine until I read it. Oh my gosh, it was great. Gary Lundergreen.
Yeah. That's
What
good.
do you think not to be too big, what do you think the meaning of life is? No, I'm serious. I know that I recently had a friend, good friend of mine, her son, we're close to their family, our sons are friends, and it's actually an assignment that people are going to write things if he opens it later. It's your perspective.
Oh, cool. Cool. Meaning of life.
Yeah.
We're here so short. It's such a short amount of time. You know, time is slippery, and I don't like to waste any of it, and I don't like to let any of it go. And I want to spend it with people. I want to give back. I want to learn. I think that's the meaning of life, really. Just give back, learn stuff, keep going, because you don't know when it's over. You know, I think I know the end. And here it is. I'm hole number 3, clutching my chest. I mean, I hope that's how it is, but who knows? But it's close. I mean, I'm in the 4th quarter. I'm 67 years old. And you know, I'm not going to live to be 150, pretty sure. So let's have some fun today.
Yeah. Well, and I think getting a ribbon at Toastmasters helps add to the meaning of life as well, right? It's
Maybe some pound cake for dessert.
Maybe some pound cake.
Can we hear the pound cake?
all right. So yeah, before we do the Grit Creed, tell us the pound cake story.
That's a good story. I was in Afghanistan. I was about 10,000 feet up in the mountains, and all the Navy SEALs, there's about 16, 20 of them, are up there doing training. So they're shooting their guns, they're rappelling, they're doing all this crazy stuff. And of course, they let me do everything that they're doing, even though I really shouldn't be. But it's 10,000 feet up, and I didn't have a whole lot for breakfast that day, and we drove like 3 hours to get up there. It's probably about 120 degrees, it's hot. I'm down there shooting this gun, and all of a sudden I looked at my buddy Vinny, he's a Master Chief. I go, Vinny, I'm not doing real well, because the whole world is just going black. And he goes, hold on. And he opens up an MRE, and he rips open this little package. He goes, eat this pound cake. And I ate that pound cake, and
Oh, gee.
pound cake saved my life.
Good pound cake. Pound cake will do that. A lot of butter.
Oh, wow. It really did.
Oh, gosh. Real quick story. Got time? Okay. So I go to Kandahar, Afghanistan. Okay. And the Army guys, they always, hey, Master Chief, you want to go for a mission? I'm like, yeah, I'll go on a mission. Because even though I'm Navy, everybody's playing the game. So we get in this big helicopter at night. And the first thing you do in the big helicopter is you shoot the guns. It looks like big tracers and stuff. And I got a helmet on, and I'm in the front with the 2 pilots. And this is a big helicopter. We got 5 Navy SEALs in the back. Because we're flying up to this mountain to pick up 5 Navy SEALs that've been up on top of this mountain taking pictures of the bad guys for a while. We're going to bring them home. So the helicopter gets up there on the side of the mountain. It doesn't even land. It just puts the back down like that, touches the mountain, and the guys get on board, and we fly away. Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is cool. And so we're flying back. The mission's done. I'm happy, I get this little message. Hey, X-ray 97, we need you to stop by at this coordinates and pick up these pucks. I'm like, pucks? What's a puck? It's a terrorist that somebody got down there that we need to talk to.
Wow.
Ooh.
And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm not really too concerned. I got 10 Navy SEAls in the back of this helicopter, 3 or 4 guys. So we land, here they are, I got thing over their head, they got their arms tie-wrapped, they got their robes on, they paddle off into the helicopter, and we bring them back to Kandahar, and they have a little discussion. And but that was a pretty crazy night.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's exactly. Yeah. So one of the questions we like to ask, the Grit Creed are 12 principles that we really try and bake into everything we do between, Grit University, Grit Camp. And so we always like to ask our guests, the Grit Creed, which one of those resonates most with you and why?
I already know which one it was, man. Here it is. Hold it on. Oh, there it is. I speak to encourage not only myself, but also others. Because it's like a perpetual motion machine. When I talk encouragement, it lifts me up too. I mean, that's how I pretty much do it with the positive energy. But I really like encourage not only myself, but also others, because everybody could use a little bit of encouragement. I don't care if it's just a little pat on the back. The one I like to do is people do something really great or something. I'll look at them and go, you know what? Nice. Because nice can mean anything to anybody, whatever it is. And I just like that word. Hey, you know what? Nice. That's right. Thank you, Master Chief. Oh, if it's a kid, But yeah, I love encouraging because you can't get enough of it. I mean, I can't get enough of this kind of stuff. Why? It makes me feel good. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm having a blast doing it. I'm getting better at it, so it's easier. And it's my little things help other people, I hope. But, kind of jealous. They help me a lot.
Yeah, and it's very fitting, too, with what you did,
Right.
In the Navy as well. So, well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Grit.org podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.